Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about provider communication for medical coders. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I've been a medical coder for over 10 years, and I created my channel with the hope of sharing all the things that I know, the tips, the tricks about medical coding with all of you. So if you haven't had a chance to, I hope you hit the subscribe button. I hope you hit the notification bell so you can be notified anytime I post anything new. And if at the end this video helps you, I hope you'll share it. I hope you'll smash that thumbs up button, and let's get started. Okay. So how do you create a really good relationship with your providers? Now, this is something that takes practice, and it takes years of practice. But lucky for you, I've gone through a lot of trial and error. So I'm sharing it now with all of you. Okay. So the first things first. How you approach them is going to determine the whole thing, okay? Now, you need to really be engaged with them as far as making yourself available and getting to know them. Whenever we do go back to normal post-COVID, post-pandemic, and you are in the hospital and you have to work with your providers again, make sure that if you are brand new, or even if you are a veteran coder and you haven't had a chance to go by and say hello to your providers, make sure that you go and you meet them. That is going to set the stage for all communication. Your provider should be able to pick you out of a lineup, okay? A lot of times providers don't know who their coder is, and that's part of the problem. You have to make sure that you are available and that they know how they can reach you. And also, you want to try to do little things to constantly not be there like annoyingly, but maybe like once a week. And the way that I do it is I make sure that I touch on them once a week. As far as like I send them a coding tip of the week. And because I happen to be embedded in the clinic, they do see me. But a lot of times it'll just be in passing or whatever. So I always make sure that I touch them in some way. And by that, I mean like I send them a coding tip of the week. And when I send them a coding tip of the week, it's just something very small. It's either a reminder about something that they're all doing, or it will be something that is new to the codes or anything like that. If there's any updates to the codes, I will go ahead and include that. But I make it short and sweet and to the point. And they like it because it just gets right to the heart of the message, and that's it, you know. But this also leaves that door open so that if they do have questions, they can always shoot me an email. And that's the first part of it. And the second part of it is, you know, you have to make sure that you are well dressed whenever you are around them. How you are presenting yourself is going to be in part instilling that confidence in them, in you, okay? So when they see you, they need to know that you are there for business and that you are very serious about what you're doing, because sometimes they'll think these coders don't really know what they're doing. You need to let them know that you do know what you're doing. Even if you're brand new, even if you haven't worked in that clinic before, or you know you have experience but not in this particular setting or that particular setting, you need to let them know that you are studying and you are trying to get better with whatever, okay? And you can do that in little ways. But the thing about it is, reaching them on that communication level is one thing, but really communicating with them is going to open up a whole new level of communication, okay? And it's going to really help to shine a light on their notes and what they're thinking and their thought process is, because that has a lot to do with it. So you have to make sure that you are really paying attention to the things that they are documenting. And if they are improving, you don't want to go into butt kisser mode. You want to go into sincere compliment mode. Now, that's what I do. I do sincere compliments because I don't always tell them all the time, oh, you're doing great, you're doing great, you're doing great. Even though, yeah, I'm sure they would like that. They need to know that when I am complimenting them, that it is a sincere compliment. And it is really what is going on. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted with the kids that are out there yelling. So anyway, when you're talking to them and you happen to be reviewing their notes and they have a note that is written very well, or they've selected all their codes appropriately, and you're like, oh wow, you know, I have done one of two things. I have either sat there, stopped, and did an email, because you have to tell them. If they're doing really good like that, you have to tell them, because they're not always going to know. And providers do get the brunt end of a lot of abuse sometimes from their patients, from, their patients getting mad at them because they're in pain or whatever, or the clinic administrators or their nurses or the staff, or anybody else that's above them. And you don't want to be one more person that's coming to them complaining to them that you need something, because doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, they're all human beings too. They have feelings as well. And even though sometimes it may not seem like it, because sometimes they may seem like they're a little gruff, they still like to get the compliments too. They still like to know that they're doing a good job too, So if they are doing really well on a note or something, tell them, let them know. And that will help to foster that good relationship with your providers as well. If they're not doing anything that's standing out, then don't say anything, But at the same time, if they are, then you need to let them know. Hey, sir, ma'am, you did this note was really awesome to read. And be sincere about it. Don't make it like, you're trying to, be a butt kisser or anything like that. but just make it to where that you are. There's like so much noise today, I swear, on the outside. I've been trying to do this filming and I've just been getting sirens and kids screaming. I'm like, come on, Anyway, but I just want to say that, because the thing is, providers, if any of you have watched one of my favorite doctors, I sometimes post about him on the YouTube community tab, Dr. Zumidamania. He's also known as Dr. Z-Dog MD. He is hilarious. But if you take the time to watch his channel and watch some of his shows and things like that, he does talk about providers and what they think and how they think. And because of this, I feel like this is just another window into the mind of a doctor or the mind of a healthcare provider, so that way I can know how to reach them. It's very important, because they are next level. They are next level education. They are so educated that sometimes it is hard to connect with them. So you have to look for different ways, and each provider is going to be unique in the fact that you can communicate with them in different ways. I have connected with providers just simply by cars. I happen to drive a sports car. I have a very fast car, and one of the doctors noticed it. And he was like, hey, don't you drive he said another sports car, which was not mine. I'm like, no, I drive this. He's like, oh, excuse me. And so we all started talking about cars and engines and things like that. I'm an engines nerd too. Just saying. And so, anyway, but that was how I connected with some of my providers on that end. And then I had another one where I'm a University of Michigan fan, okay? And this particular provider is a Michigan State fan. So one day he was walking by my office. I had the door open, and he was new at the time. And then he stopped, and I could hear him, because his footsteps is kind of like clunk, 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 clunk. And I hear him stop, and he goes clunk. And I feel this presence at the door, and I look over, and it's him, and he says, what is that? He's pointing at my license plate, because I have a license plate that says Go Blue, University of Michigan, And so I said, what? It's my University of Michigan plate. I said, are you a fan too? He goes, no. He's like, I'm a Michigan State fan. And I'm like, here we go. But that opened the door for communication between me and him. So when you have that little bit of something to connect with, it does help to open up communication, okay? And when you open up communication, then you're able to ask them things. You can just put it in there on the fly, just little things about, like, what do they do on their encounters, and what are they doing when they're in visits and things like that. So that way you can make sure that all of the credit is being given appropriately. I've had conversations with providers in passing, and they're just like, well, I do this and I do this, I do this. And I'm like, I don't see that. Why is that not in your notes? And then they're like, oh, well, I didn't think we could get credit for it. And I'm like, no, you need to think again, because yeah, you can, So they go, well, I didn't know that. I was like, okay, well, now you know. And so then they know, because of this, they trust me. That's building trust, because I pay attention to all those details. It is going to require you to be detail oriented. Okay. Whether you're learning body language to make sure that you know if what you're saying is actually sinking in, if they're accepting it and receiving it, because you can tell by somebody's body language if they're receiving what you're saying. Okay, and that is really huge. Okay, when you do that, when you are able to sit there and talk to them and know if they're receiving you or not, it's going to help you either to customize that approach with that provider in particular, or if you need to change your approach, which approach might work better. Okay, but whatever you do, you always want to make sure that you give them the utmost respect. I always refer to my doctors as doctor, sir, ma'am, and then with the PAs, Mr., or Miss. And sometimes I'll call them by their first name, but it depends. That is only if they've told me that that's okay. Okay, but I always refer to them, sir, ma'am, whatever. But I never call them by their first name unless they say it's okay. But usually when you've gotten a lot more comfortable, and I do call a lot of them by their first name sometimes now, because I know so many of them, but I still go with, especially if we're around a lot more people, I will call them doctor or, sir, ma'am, whatever. But when we are privately in the office or whatever, I can call them by their first name. I try not to do that too much when we're around other people. So it's just a form of respect, but again, you want to instill that confidence that you are respecting them at all times, and that if they are at a point where they don't want to hear anymore, that you're going to stop, and you can respect that. Okay. And I think it's going to rain. I hear thunder. I hear thunder. Ooh, it's going to rain. Anyway, this is just a comedy of errors trying to film tonight, I swear. But anyway, I have many more tips, and I want to keep going. So you want to set the environment for acceptance and not resistance, okay? And if you have your own office and you're embedded in the clinic, I hope you do. If you are embedded in the clinic, make it where it is homely, okay? Make it where they're comfortable. If you have an extra chair, I have a bench chair in my office, and because this bench chair always they just plop right down in it because it looks really comfortable. I don't have throw pillows yet on it, although I'm thinking about getting a couple throw pillows to put on it. But all right. One of my secret weapons, other than the fact that I always come to them with my evaluation and management tool or my books, whenever I do have to explain something to them, because that's showing them that I can bring my receipts, as somebody said. One of the viewers said that. I was like, oh yeah, that's true, receipts. I can bring my evidence of why and stuff that supports what I'm trying to tell them, and they know that I'm just not going to come to them with anything that's petty. Again, knowing that when they see you, you're not after them for stupid things or things that are real petty. They're gonna know, okay, well, she means business, and I should pay attention. So that's what you want as well. But in my office, I've set up my office that it is, and maybe when this whole pandemic is over, I will do a office tour with everybody of my office so they all can see. I don't know. We'll see how soon I do that. But I have a thing in my office, and this is one of my secret weapons. This is one of the unconventional approaches. Now, the thing about it is, when you're hungry, what happens? You don't want to listen to anybody. You don't want to hear. You don't want to know, and nothing. If people are griping at you all day, then you really don't want to hear anything. But what I have done is I have this basket, okay, and it is affectionately called the bear trap. And I'll get into the story of why if you're new to my channel, okay? So I have this basket, they call it the bear trap, and it's filled with all kinds of candy, and this is just, junk. That it's not meant to be healthy, although I do put some peanuts in there occasionally, some nuts, mixed nuts or whatever. It depends if it's on sale. Anything that I put in that basket is always on sale. Now, here's the thing. Why do I have this basket? Bleu, they're doctors. They make money. They let them buy whatever they want. Okay, here's the thing. I don't have that frame of mind because I don't care. I don't care what you make. How much money you make, I really don't care. What I care about is having a happy provider. And how do I do that? How do I help them to be happy? Because if they're happy, guess what? They're going to feel appreciated. And when somebody is appreciated, they feel like they can do more for you. So I want them to feel appreciated. Now, they have people constantly griping at them, whether it's the patients, the administrators, their nurses, the other staff, their families, their kids, and all the time they spend away from their families and their kids. And then, sometimes their spouses, and they get upset about that. And they're human too. So they bring it to work with them, and they're upset and they're mad because, all these people want something from them. With this bear trap, what I have done is I get candies on sale, and I put anything and everything in this thing. It's got chips, it's got Rice Krispie treats, it's got all kinds of stuff in it, just junk, And there's nothing like it though. When you go in there and you see this whole little basket, it's got candy and cookies and crackers and all this other stuff in it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so hungry. Well, help yourself. And then they go in and they start having a candy, and then they just sit for a minute. And a lot of them have done this. They will come into my office and they go, Blue, I just need to sit. And I'm like, that's fine. So they go and they sit, and sometimes they don't even touch the candy basket. They just want a water. So, because I put water out there too. I have bottles of water out there. And bottles of water are cheap. And so I put this there, and then, I'm still continuing to work. And then all of a sudden they start talking. Well, I have a question, and this wasn't clear. And then they talked about this in the other meeting. And so then I said, okay. So then I stop what I'm doing and I listen to them. And as I'm listening to them, then you see them go from being really tense and really just like, oh, all this weight of the world to down, and they relax. And then all of a sudden I say something funny and they start laughing. But I set my office up to be a very comfortable environment. And that helps. If you can set the tone of being a comfortable place that they can just go and they know you're going to help them, that is going to foster that relationship with those providers like that. And then you'll be able to help them, because at the end of the day, they need to know that you're their partner and that you're there to help them. You're not there to be one more voice to get after them. You're not there to be one more voice to say, I need this, even though, yes, you do need something from them. But at the same time, they need to know that you have their back, that you're looking in their encounters to make sure that all of the credit that they deserve to get is actually being selected. Because believe it or not, there are some coders that will look at the documentation, and if the provider has pre-selected some diagnoses, they'll just send it on through. Oh yeah, the doctor already coded it. I'm just going to go ahead and send it on through with what he coded. No ma'am, no sir. You go through and you pick up what is appropriately there. If the doctor has already selected the codes and they are correct, then hey, celebrate. But if you can see that the E&M level that they selected is too low and they could potentially get a higher level, then do that. And then let them know. If they're doing something really good and then you had to bump their level up, or you had to apply another procedure code that they didn't pick up, let them know. And not every single time, because obviously if you have to make lots of changes, then, that would be a lot, but just do it every once in a while and let them know, hey, you're doing really good, because they need to hear it too. Okay. And going back to the bear trap, I'll tell you why really quickly, because this thing is going to cut me off if I don't watch it. So when I have a provider that comes in and they just sit and they start asking questions, and it makes them better. It makes them better documenters. It helps them to understand why we need the things that we need. Because sometimes you get resistance from providers because they don't understand why do we need this stuff, and they will get very frustrated. And like I said, when you're hungry and you're taking care of people all the time, you take care of yourself. And your energy reserves are low. And then you say, hey, here's this candy, and then a lot of times it's just there. They help themselves, and which is fine. That's what I want them to do. I want them to be comfortable enough to do that. Now, this little basket got famous. And so having a provider come in there and they sit and they talk and they're just going on. Well, one of the hospital administrators, I work for a large conglomerate of hospitals. One of the hospital administrators went to another facility and he was there for a meeting. And he happened to be talking with the ortho group that's over there as well. And they said, hey, we heard from one of the, he goes, are you from this facility, which is my facility? Okay, and then he said, yeah, that's where I'm at. And then they go, well, do you know the ortho coder down there? And he goes, yeah, I talk to her all the time. And he goes, well, we heard from the other ortho surgeons that there's a coder that has a candy basket. Is that true? That she just leaves it out and they just come in and they talk to her? And he's like, yeah. They go, well, why does she do that? And then he goes, well, I mean, she does it because he goes, you know why, how did it go? That he goes, when you're out hunting, right? And then they go, yeah. And they go, what happens when you are hunting a bear? What is a bear? And they go, it's an alpha animal. Okay. What do you do when you're hunting a bear? You put out food, right? And then the bears, they come in, they get attracted to the food, right? And then he's like, yeah. He goes, this is the same idea. He goes, she does it because she wants the providers to come over and talk to her. So if they know that there's snacks and little goodies, they will come over whenever they want a snack or whatever, and they'll sit there and they'll talk to her. And they go, that's why she does it. And then they go, yep. And then he goes, but it works because, they're all really high performing because they talk to their coder. And it's very important to have a good relationship with your coder. They go, well, how can we get our coders to do that here? He goes, well, she does it herself. He goes, it's not a common practice. People don't always do that. And then he goes, but, she does it. And so they were like, well, we want our coders to do that here. They don't do nothing but gripe at us. That's the wrong answer. You don't want to be known as a person that's griping at the providers, okay? You need to be known as somebody that the providers want to go to, want to talk to, want to spend their time with. They want to spend their time with me. Why? Because I'm not sitting there griping at them. They know I want to work with them. They know I want to partner with them. And they know I take my stuff seriously. And that's what you have to do when you are trying to get their confidence. They have confidence in me that I know what I'm doing, okay? I'm just saying. And you want them to have that same thing with you. Because the more that they work with you, the more that they know that you appreciate them, the more they're going to want to do for you, okay? And not just you in particular, but they're going to want their notes to look really good. That's what they're going to work towards. Okay. So when you have that, that's when you start having that better relationship. And that's when they say, okay, I know I can count on her or him to really help me and make sure that all of the credit that I deserve is getting picked up. Okay. So it's just it's some advice from me to you. And I will be doing more provider communication videos. But it is really important to make sure that when you're speaking to them, that you're speaking clearly. When you're sending them an email, that your email is written in very good English, good punctuation, good sentence structure. Please do not be one of those people who doesn't do that or pays attention to those details. Because when you don't pay attention to those details, they notice that stuff. And then they don't want to hear from you, okay? That's why I always try to be a good, shining example of what a good medical coder should be. And I always try to put my best foot forward because I want them to have that higher standard of medical coders. I want them to be, I'm expecting my coder to be high caliber because they deserve that. They deserve to have a high caliber medical coder. They deserve to have somebody that's going to dig and look for all the good stuff for them. Okay. And again, to me, investing a couple of bucks, you know what I mean? Because all the candy and stuff that I get them is always on sale. Always. I never spend a lot of money on it. And I never think about, they make more money than me. I ain't getting them nothing. Because you know what? Having that attitude doesn't get you anywhere. I'm just saying. They're human too. That's my advice for today. But yes, it is a complicated thing, relationships with providers. But work on improving yourself, your appearance and your approach and talking to them and how you're talking to them. And just know that when you deal with highly intelligent people, you're going to have to try many different approaches sometimes. But the same thing, if you can be consistent all the way, is respect and the fact that they know that you're in their corner and that you're going to still try anything and everything you can to make sure that they're getting maximum credit for everything that they do. Okay. So that's my advice for today. Tomorrow is going to be about the accelerated medical coding programs. I hope you'll tune in, and I hope you'll hit that thumbs up button. So I will go ahead and wrap this one up. But if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.